Yo! It's good, y'all. Surprise, man. Today we're back in another video. We are about to talk about the whole thing I've been hearing on the internet, man. I had to post a video on this today because I just thought about it. The whole Bray, Wyatt, and LA Knight storyline. So if you don't know, if you're not a fan of wrestling and all that, you would you wouldn't know this. But for the people who are, bro, I've known that people have been complaining about this storyline is dragging, it's taking too long. Bray is boring now, or he's not as impressive as I thought he was gonna be. I enjoy his return, but he just needs to pick up the pace, or he hasn't had a match yet, or they're not progressing the storyline, or we never know what he's saying or what he's talking about. He never gets to the point. Just heard them all before, and here's what I got to say to debunk all of it. First off, my top 5 favorite wrestlers right now in the business are Bray Wyatt. Funny enough, Bray Wyatt, LA Knight, the people in the feud, MJF, Roman Reigns, and Cody. Those are my top 5 favorites in wrestling right now in terms of singles wrestlers. In the sense of how much I like them, in the sense of how much they've been doing. Cody's obviously going to do a lot more when he comes back. But it's just one of these things where I just got to tell people, these are 2 of my favorites, 2 of my top 5, funny enough. But 2 of these guys that I'm feuding right now, funny enough, are in my top 5. There's not a feud that I thought I was going to see and did I know I needed. But it's just one of those things where I'm looking at people I think they realize that this feud is going to culminate at the Royal Rumble. So it's gotten to a point where people are expecting this feud to just go by so quick, and they're saying stupid stuff it's not advancing. I'm it's not advancing. I'm they're literally doing new stuff every week. He gets attacked one week, and then there's talking the next week, and then there's Uncle Howdy capturing him the next week, and then on that same week that they showed us him capturing him, then he shows up. So what do you mean? They're constantly progressing the story, and then tonight Bray Wyatt attacks the cameraman. So my thing is this. But the people who say, oh, they don't understand, they don't know what he's saying, and all this other stuff like that. First of all, what do you mean you don't understand the point? He never gets to the point. You don't understand what he's saying. What are you talking about? You don't understand what he's saying. He doesn't get to the point. He must have to be stupid, because literally his point that he has trying to been ever since after they slapped each other, right? He clearly slapped or headbutted LA Knight, and then LA Knight slapped him twice. So they can admit, okay, they did do that to each other. They can't deny that. But then Bray Wyatt is accused of attacking LA Knight. I can't believe I had to break down the story. But then Bray Wyatt is accused of attacking LA Knight, which did not happen. It was Uncle Howdy the entire time in his own mask, right? He had a different mask on than what Uncle Howdy usually comes out with. I do actually hope that's Bo Dallas, because I really think they could do something together, Bray Wyatt and his real life brother Bo Dallas. I hope they can really do something together. It's an on-screen act. I really hope they can do something together, because Bray has a very creative mind, and he's been the only, outside of the bloodline stuff, which has already been there with Sammy before Triple H even came in charge. But when Bray Wyatt came back, he's been the only other thing that I can say that's a storyline in WWE. Everyone else, they're just not doing anything. Even your top stars, they're not in a storyline. They're just, their closest thing they have to a storyline, which this isn't a storyline, but the closest thing they have to a storyline is just them attacking each other every week, or it's just the same redundancy. So Bray Wyatt is actually changing stuff up. He's bringing in good views, good ratings, selling his merch out, especially to the kids, and even all that are appealing to him, and they buy in. The crowd always reacts to Bray Wyatt. The crowd is never quiet for Bray's entrance, and that's anytime he even comes to the arena. So if you ask me, Bray Wyatt is the only guy who's been able to come back to the WWE, have a direction, and actually stay relevant, and not only stay relevant, but stay to a big part of the show. And then you have all these wrestling experts and all them just saying like, oh well, he never gets to the point. We don't know what he's talking about. I'm like, what do you mean? The point was that he was trying to clear his name and that he was innocent. And then when LA Knight saw Uncle Howdy, he was like, oh snap, like it actually could have been him. It wasn't Bray the whole time. So then Bray comes out next week saying he deserves an apology, and then we don't know what's going on in Bray's mind because everyone knows that he's in the middle between wanting to be a good person, but he also loves to do bad things. So he has those contrasting personalities about himself. So one minute he's all nice and he's innocent and he does like what he just did. For example, he cleared his name with LA Knight and now he wants an apology, but then he goes and attacks the cameraman. So that's where it's like, that's the whole thing that's been going on with him. It's like he loves doing he's trying to become better, but he loves doing the bad things as well, like he just did with the cameraman. But he was nice by telling LA Knight like, hey bro, I wasn't doing those things to you, and he wasn't. So it's like there it is again. It's like there's him being nice by saying, hey bro, it really wasn't me, and you know, I meant no harm on you. And then he goes and harmed this cameraman. So there's those contrasting personalities. So I don't understand how people don't understand him or don't know what he's talking about or doesn't get the point. I'm like, literally the whole point was him trying to prove that he's innocent and that he wasn't doing all these attacks LA Knight was having week after week. So there's that. And to me, if Bray had already had a match, well, that just wouldn't make sense. If it's going to be his first match back, you would want it to be with someone as big of a star as LA Knight and someone who actually feels special to see. And every time you see him go out there, like there's something there. Like there's something he's telling you. Or he's always making you go, he's always making you ask questions. Like people don't understand, like in shows, in movies, if you want to watch the other movie, the movie has to give you something to want to watch the next one. Like they can't just give you, wow, that was a great movie, but they have to give you a reason to watch the second one. Like, what is the second movie? What did they do in the first movie that's gonna make me watch the second one? Like I have to find out. Usually if you watch another movie or the next movie or you watch the next episode, usually it's because there's something that happened in the movie or episode that made you go, whoa, I gotta click on the next one to see what happens next. That's what Bray does on WWE television, because it is a television show. That's what Bray Wyatt does on television. He makes you question things about him so that you'll never fully figure out Bray Wyatt. That's how he keeps you tuning in week after week, because you don't know what his goals are, what his motives are, or you think you know, and then he does something else. So it's one of those things where when he keeps adding elements like Alexa Bliss and Uncle Howdy, hopefully being Bo Dallas, he keeps adding people into his mix or adding things into the mix through his promos and through who he has aligned himself with. So he's always giving you something to question about him to make you tune into the next episode, or in this case next week, next Friday. So the fact that he's always giving you something to have to question and goes, what does this lead to? What is this gonna do? Like, people don't understand, that's not something to be mad about. When you don't know the answer to everything, like, why is that something you're mad about? Use that should be positive, that you don't know what Bray's gonna do next week, or you don't know all of his intentions. Like, if you don't know, that's not a bad thing, because all it's gonna do is just make you tune in next week. Because then guess what? The second you find the answer, there's a new question. He doesn't change the question, but there is a new question. Like, okay, boom, we figure out who Uncle Howdy is. Okay, that's fine. But by the time we figure out who Uncle Howdy is, he's gonna already do something that's making you question something else about him. So Bray Wyatt constantly makes you have to question what he's going to do next week. So the fact that people go, oh, I don't know the answer to this, I don't know the answer to that, and all this other stuff, I'm like, that's a good thing. That's not a bad, that's a good thing, because now you have to see what he's going to do next week to see if you're going to get the answers. And then sometimes you do. And then when you get the answer, it's like, well, now I got a new question. See, that's what I'm saying. That's a good thing that Bray Wyatt keeps you asking questions about him, because if you haven't figured out, there would be really nothing else to look forward to. So people don't understand that he's a different type of, I guess they don't just like that he's a different type of wrestler. He's not like everyone else. He's like, I can't even say he's like the Undertaker of our era, because one, you know, the Undertaker's in a whole nother league, but then two, Bray is doing all this himself. Like, he's thinking of all of these things. So whether it takes his own, because people will go, oh, well, it doesn't make him a good creative mind just because he takes ideas away from movies. When yet wrestling did that all the time. There's plenty of stories of wrestlers watching certain movies to like really get into their character. They watch certain movies to take note from the character from the movie so that they can apply it to their own. So that's always been a thing. Stone Cold has said before that he's watched certain movies to really amplify his character. I don't know if it was the Stone Cold character, but there was characters that he was like researching or watching movies on to like kind of really get the feel of how he would be. And the Undertaker was watching different movies to really add to the Undertaker and what like the Undertaker would be like. So people, what are people talking about? Like, people always watched movies of sorts to like kind of really and watch the characters that related to theirs. And then they found out, okay, maybe that should be my motives, like a serial killer type motive or whatever. Like, everyone has already, I mean, people do that all the time, still do it to this day. So I don't understand why people think it don't, like, you can get inspiration from a movie for a character, but Bray Wyatt did not watch a movie and came up with the Firefly Funhouse or The Fiend. There was no character in a movie called The Fiend. There was no Firefly Funhouse. That was not a thing. So that was all Bray Wyatt's creative mind. Yes, he got like the concept of what he was gonna do from like, you know, Mr. Rogers and stuff like that. But his character is nothing like Mr. Rogers in the sense of what his motives are and the puppets and what the puppets mean. Like, he created all of that. Yes, he got the inspiration for a movie, and that's fine. I mean, people get inspiration from a lot of things to create what they create, but he made it into his own, but he just used kind of a concept of what that character would do as a way to inspire a new character. So I don't understand why people think that like this, he isn't creative because he just watches a bunch of movies. But yet every character you see from Bray Wyatt is something new. Like, it's something you have not seen in wrestling. Like, even his cult leader character, that was not something you've ever seen before in wrestling, or you couldn't really pinpoint a movie right until he pointed it out, or people have pointed it out. You didn't even know he got that inspiration from a movie, and even then, it's not like he's literally copying the character. He's making it into where it works for his own storyline. But to end off this video, I also have to give credit to LA Knight, man. I like that, how like that he is getting put in the spotlight with a top star. I heard that like, oh, well, this isn't doing anything for LA Knight. I'm like, what are you talking about? Son? He's in, whether you like Bray Wyatt or not is like eye of the beholder, but LA Knight is getting put in a top spot of the program. Imagine if he was just feuding with somebody you didn't really pay attention to. Like, come on, man. This is a great spot for LA Knight because he's in there. Imagine LA Knight, you're as returning to your original character. Your first feud is with one of the biggest stars in the company. Like, what do you mean this isn't doing anything for him? He's getting put in the biggest light right now. But, oh, man. But I love Bray Wyatt. I love LA Knight. He's been doing his part greatly, whether that's how he has to, you know, look confused, or when he looks scared, or when he looks like he just want to stand off. It's like, all right, I'm backing off. Or in the promos he's been cutting, like, he's great at what he does. And I cannot wait, like, for the next even 2 years. I don't want to say 3 to 4. For the next 2 years, I can't wait till he, like, wins championships, gets put in even greater feuds. Clearly, he's world championship material. So I hope he really racks up accolades in WWE, because a star like him, who's that kind of Stone Cold Rock hybrid, and then mixes it in with himself, like, because he's in there, because a lot of it is himself, but then the inspiration, like I say, because everyone takes inspiration from Rock and Stone Cold, and and then himself, he mixes that all in, and then that's how you got the LA Knight character, man. And it's a good thing, because, I mean, Rock and Stone Cold were great, so why wouldn't you want somebody in there in the company right now that will remind you of them a little bit? Like, that's a good thing. That's not like oh, you're ripping them off. Like, that's not a bad thing. But anyway, man, LA Knight's been doing his thing. Hopefully he becomes, like, multi-time champ, or with good, memorable reigns and feuds, obviously. You don't just give him a title just to give him a title, but with memorable feuds and reigns. And, yeah, man, hope he can keep him at the top part of the program and of the card. Had to give him credit to end this off. But love and appreciate these superstars, man, for doing what they do, entertaining us, putting their bodies on the line, and telling us great stories for the people who do put in the effort to put in great storylines. But love and appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you did watch this, for like, comment, subscribe on the way out. The Prodigy, and I'm out. Peace.